Chad, are you with us?
I am with you. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. Thanks very much.
Cameron, happy birthday.
Well, thank you. Cameron, are you okay? Are you? Is your geezer hood kicking in?
I think I'm forgetting how to run the board.
It's my birthday on Friday, too, Cam.
Is it really?
Yeah, it's a good month.
It is a good month. By the way, can you hang on for 1 second, Chad? I'm just going to give some Metamucil to Cameron here. I'll be right back. All right, listen, I'm glad you can be with us on the program tonight. We were talking about your piece at BuckeyeFirearms.org on last night's program where, in the wake of 4 armed robberies of jewelry stores in Toledo in the past month, the police department spokesman has come out with some handy advice for jewelers out there. If you are the victim of an armed robbery, he says, don't fight back because, quote, it's just really not worth it.
Yeah, that's handy advice, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, if you want to place your safety in the hands of the person who has come in to rob you, I guess that's great advice. If, on the other hand, you may be a little concerned that the armed robber doesn't have your best interests at heart, I'm not so sure that's a really good thing to say, Chad.
No, and unfortunately, this is not the first time that something like this has come out of the Toledo police. You may recall, Cam, back in 2004, the chief of police, Michael Navarre, who's still the chief of police in Toledo, at the time they were having a lot of carry-out robberies. Now it's jewelry stores, but at the time, the store owners, they were even having meetings with the police because these criminals were actually, in some cases, assassinating or executing the patron or the store owners so that they didn't have witnesses. That could easily happen with the jewelry stores, by the way, if they take the advice of this spokesperson. And so at the time, Chief Navarre, people were asking, well, what do you expect us to do? Because he was counseling against having a gun, and he said, quote, pick up a baseball bat if that's your only defense against bullets coming towards you. And so, the spokesperson in the story that you are quoting from that I wrote about yesterday is unnamed, so I don't know who that is, but obviously that person's taking a page straight from Chief Navarre, and that seems to be the kind of mindset that's going on in the Toledo Police Department all the way back to 2004 and right up till today.
Wow. And Chad, I mean, we've seen, again, the number of police layoffs in Toledo going back a couple of years. I just saw another story earlier today that talked about violent crime, it being a very violent month in Toledo. And again, I haven't seen any evidence that law-abiding citizens are responsible for these violent crimes. Seems like most of these individuals already have criminal history. We're not talking about right-to-carry holders. The focus on the law-abiding and saying, to the law-abiding, well, listen, you just need to be calm and relax and just kind of take it, just have a zen attitude towards being the victim of an armed robbery. Why can't we ever hear one of these police spokesmen say, you know what, it's just not worth it to go into one of these jewelry stores and try to rob somebody of all of their property because they may be armed and they may kill you?
Yeah, that's a good point. And again, you're right to say that they're focusing on the wrong folks because they know that the criminals aren't going to listen to them if they give them that sage advice to, for example, they could just say, hey, criminals, it's not legal to rob the jewelry store, so stay away. I mean, the no-gun signs, that kind of mentality is just a faulty mentality. It doesn't work, and I think they're going to wind up getting people hurt by giving them this type of advice because giving in to criminals in situations like this, in many cases, like I said, if they decide that they don't want witnesses, then, I feel horrible about what's going to happen next, and we've seen that in real life in living color in the past, and I fear that this type of advice is going to lead to that type of conclusion again, and then the police will, this police spokesman will probably scratch his head, not realize, not understand the connection, and go right back to giving that same type of advice. I don't want to paint all police officers in that corner because I know there's many police officers that support the right to bear arms. It just seems like these police bureaucrats, these spokespeople, a lot of times these guys aren't out on the street. There's just some kind of bureaucratic mentality there that I I can't understand, I can't comprehend, and it's obviously quite deep inside the bureaucracy at the TPD.
Yeah, well, and you're right. It's not everybody. As a matter of fact, in our hero of the day later in the evening, you'll actually hear a law enforcement officer make pretty much the exact opposite argument than what the TPD spokesperson was saying. But, I think a lot of times, Chad, what we see it's the spokesperson. It's the flack who doesn't want to say anything remotely controversial. But I'm trying to figure out why it is automatically assumed that telling people to sit there and take it is less controversial than warning the criminals, look, we've got a lot of new gun owners in Toledo over the past couple of years, a lot of new right-to-carry holders. You criminals are taking your life into your own hand when you go out there and you threaten the life of one of our residents. I don't know why that's more controversial than telling crime victims to be good victims.
Yeah, it shouldn't be more controversial. The media treats it as more controversial. I know you spent your last segment talking about bias in the media, and they clearly do. I can think of times when police officers or judges, for example, we had a judge here in Ohio advise residents to purchase firearms because there were police layoffs. Back in 2009 in Toledo, there was a police veteran. He had been in the police force in Toledo for 25 years, telling residents, buy guns, invest in precious metals, meaning lead, gunpowder, and brass, treated as horribly controversial by police, but yet telling store owners to sit by and take it and hope that this robber doesn't decide to execute you isn't controversial in the eyes of the media, and that's just a sad statement.
Absolutely. So what are the commenters at Buckeye Firearms saying about this, Chad?
Well, it's probably kind of the same thing, and that you and I are sharing. It just seems like there's just really not understanding why we hear these same type of comments out of police bureaucracy, and yet a lot of people know and want to make sure we. In fact, I got a comment today from a police officer who emailed to say, I want to make sure you know. This doesn't represent all police officers. I'm a supporter of right to carry and believe very much in it, and so you can read a variety of comments. We're on Facebook. There's a lot of comments there sharing different thoughts about the story, and it just I probably ought the same things we're saying, Cam, but it just doesn't seem to penetrate. No matter you could call up probably and talk to Chief Navarre for 2 hours, and these same type of things would keep happening. I fear as long as he's chief in Toledo.
Yeah. Well, the good news, I guess, is despite the wishy-washy comments by the spokesperson for the Toledo Police Department, we do know that there are more people who are becoming right-to-carry holders all across Ohio, and Toledo's no exception. And these are folks who are willing to protect themselves and those that they love. Mm-hmm. So,
yep.
I guess they can say what they want, but there are plenty of armed citizens out there, and I hope that those armed citizens, if they are ever put in a position where their life is threatened, I hope that they decide that it is in fact worth it to defend themselves.
And I don't think, hopefully, that they would have taken the step to become an armed citizen, licensed, well understanding and well versed in what the laws do and do not allow them to do. If they've taken those steps, then I certainly hope and expect that they have the mindset that if and when that terrible situation happens, they will take the opportunity if it's there to defend themselves. And you just can't. I remember. My growing into an understanding of concealed carry came when I lived in Tennessee during the 90s, and I remember a person who was going around fast food restaurants and shoving everybody in the freezer after hours and executing them. And that's the potential of what you're dealing with here. Telling people just sit by and give him what he wants and hope he goes away is just not safe advice.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Chad, listen, I appreciate you coming on the program, sir. And, before we let you go, I want to ask you about something else out of Columbus, Ohio. As I understand it, the Central Ohio Transit Authority, the local public bus system there in Columbus, has been posting its buses as no guns allowed, right?
Yes, basically ever since our concealed carry law passed in 2004, that's been true for COTA as well as other transit authorities around the state.
Okay. This is in violation of Ohio law?
Yeah, there's nothing in Ohio law which says that those buses should be posted. In fact, there's a strong argument that anything that isn't specified in the law that's government-related should not be posted. And so, yeah, it would be our position that those signs are illegally posted. And the Attorney General of the state of Ohio back in 2004, I believe, was Attorney General Jim Petro, and he made a statement that he was under the belief that public buses are not exempted. In other words, local ordinances can't override state law, and those signs should not be posted. And so that's been, that's the legal position even of an Ohio Attorney General, and yet the signs have remained. And CODA's there's been stories back, articles about all kinds of problems that they've had with crime on their buses. In 2009, they went so far as to announce a plan where they were going to ask people to submit to searches of their bags and their person before they got on the bus. They were going to employ the use of police dogs to increase security. Obviously, 2 years later, their kind of Gestapo tactics haven't solved the problem. There were a group of teenagers coming home from a jazz and rib festival that were accosted by some gang members and wound up when the gang members got off the bus, they wound up shooting at the bus. So obviously they had a gun on the bus and didn't care too much about the signs, going back to that earlier point we made.
Yeah. Well, again, I think we get it. I think we, the people, understand this, that these laws are passed, to impact people like you and I.
Mm-hmm.
But again, the criminals, by their very nature, they're willing to break all kinds of laws, including laws that say don't bring that gun on board the city bus. All right, Chad, thank you again, sir, for joining us, and look forward to doing this again very soon. Happy birthday early to you as well, sir.
Thank you very much, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Glad your family got to see it today.
Me too. Thank you, Chad. Chad Baus joining us from Buckeye Firearms Association.